want you to imagine something with me. Imagine you're in high school and you've auditioned for the school musical. The auditions are over, and today's the day that they post the cast list in the gym. You show up at the appointed time to find a crowd huddled there, and you hear the sounds of laughter and shouting and slapping backs from the kids who got the parts they wanted. You duck through a gap in the crowd to get close enough to the cork board to read it. And you run your finger down the typewritten list, starting at the top for the leads, which you didn't really expect to get, and running down to the parts at the bottom with no lines. Your hopes, like the corner of your mouth, start to droop as you make your way lower and lower down. Your name is not anywhere on the list. Not in the bit parts, not in the understudy, nowhere at all. Shoulders slumped, you turn around and try to put on a brave face as you make your way as quickly as possible to anywhere but here. Not wanting anyone to see how much you cared about this. How much landing a role meant a lot more than you'd let on to. An older kid, an all-around jerk, catches you skulking away and tries to stop you in the hallway. "What's the matter, loser? Didn't get your part in the play?" And you hate yourself for it, but you start to cry. Stinging tears that make it hard to see where you're going, and you glimpse a sign for the washroom and duck inside as quickly as possible, and you find the nearest stall, slam the door and lock it behind you, and sit down on the toilet seat with your head in your hands and weep. At some point, your tears have stopped for now. And you wipe your eyes and your nose on your sleeve, and you look up to get your bearings. On your right, above the toilet paper dispensers, are a generation's worth of crude pictures. Graffiti etched with keys and the tips of a Sharpie pen. Long-forgotten insults scribbled against mysterious enemies or the telltale signs of a bad, broken-up relationship. A Dante's Inferno populated with principals and teachers, ex-friends and ex-romances who found their way to inglory on these stall walls. And on the door of the stall, just below that single chrome hook, scribbled in a chicken scratch hand you can scarcely make out, is a word. Blessed. As if, you mutter to yourself, in a tone of cynicism that doesn't quite fit you. There's a list of words written beneath the word blessed: poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, until you get to the last one, the reviled and persecuted. And you don't know what to make of that, except to say that someone else has felt persecuted and lived to write about it, and that makes you feel better somehow. Like you're not alone, like maybe someone else didn't make the cast list of the cool kids, yet somehow saw a blessing in that. What if the thing that people hate you for is somehow your reason for being here? What if the places where you don't fit in are precisely the spots where God is preparing you for a different set of rules to live by? What if the seeming discord of your life is actually God's way of preparing you to hear a different music? What if Jesus is for losers, for those who've decided or had it decided for them that they were never going to get a speaking part? What if the cast list for participating in Christ's fellowship is not posted neatly on the corkboard in that gym, but scribbled in Sharpie on the bathroom stall? What if Christianity has nothing to do with getting ahead? What if learning to follow Jesus contained zero life hacks or quick fix schemes? What if Jesus doesn't help you get ahead at all? What if he actually got in the way of getting ahead of anybody? What if Jesus made your life harder, not easier, but harder in all the ways that make life worth living? Shaping and orienting you to a life spent looking not constantly in the mirror or scrolling through a feed, but on the back of the bathroom stall. A way of life which forced you to reckon with the sin that clings so closely and seems to be written so often in permanent marker. What if we can never truly hear Jesus' call till we are in tears and shut away in a hidden place where we don't want anybody to find us? What if that were precisely the place where God promised to show up? In the bathroom stall, in the garbage dump of our lives. True story. In Jerusalem, there was a gigantic stone quarry that had a seam of limestone that was used for quarrying stone. The Romans had used it forever. They carved out of it the rock they needed to build their empire of aquifers and roads. Except for one strain of that limestone, and it was spoiled and it was not good for anything. It was in that place that some efficiency expert in the Roman Empire decided they would start crucifying people. It wasn't good for building things, he reasoned, so might as well be used for tearing things down. And so it became the garbage dump, the refuse pile, the place where trash and people considered as good as trash were tossed and never returned. And on this spot, just outside the then city gates of Jerusalem, the Roman Empire would crucify anyone who didn't make the cut. It was here that they crucified Jesus, and the words of Psalm 118 were then fulfilled. The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. And above his head, tacked on a wooden crossbeam, was the cast list for a play not one single other person in the world wanted to audition for. And that cast list read, "The King of the Jews." And Jesus got the part. And as soon as it was written, some complained and said, it should really say this man claimed to be the King of the Jews, but the powers that be said, what is written, let him play the part. And the part involved going to all the places not one single other person wanted to go. The places of poverty and mourning and hunger and persecution and revilement. And he shows up at such places to declare, my blessing comes to you here and now. Not when you've got it all together. Not when you got the part you'd always dreamed of. Not when things are going great and people are speaking well of you. But God's blessing, like God's grace, shows up to the people in places that neither deserve nor expect it. Even you, even me. You cannot hear the Beatitudes from up on stage, under the glow of the floodlights, the well-rehearsed lines, and the applause of the crowd. The Beatitudes only make sense beneath the ugly buzz of fluorescent lights when you're hiding in the bathroom stall, trying to make out the Sharpie scribbles of someone audacious enough to call you blessed. For it is here on the bathroom wall that Jesus is announcing God's claim upon those whom no one else even wants to touch. Jesus is for losers. Thank God.